This substitute was put together with the hopes of crafting something that could have broad bipartisan support. We were making excellent progress in discussions with Leo and others, and I was hopeful we had a workable compromise. Unfortunately, it is my understanding that the AFL-CIO was not supportive of this proposal and essentially derailed it. I will offer my substitute anyway in hopes that common sense will prevail. My concern with Senate Bill 965 as introduced is that the proposed penalties are much too punitive. Employers could be facing felony charges for offenses that are not serious offenses or for offenses that are not willful or intentional. First, this substitute lists the factors which Leo must use to reduce administrative fines outlined in the legislation. These factors align with federal law and include items such as the employer's previous record, whether or not reasonable precautions were taken to avoid violations, and the hours of the day when the minor's employment occurred, and so on. Additionally, in cases that do not result in serious death or injury, this substitute applies criminal penalties only when there are willful violations. Those penalties would be misdemeanors. In cases where death or great bodily harm occur, these penalties would still remain a felony. The goal is to have less significant violations handled through the newly established administrative fine process. This substitute includes tougher and more punitive penalties than I would prefer, but I respect the intent of the legislation and obviously the goal of keeping kids safe in the workplace. I have attempted to find a workable compromise with this substitute, and I believe this is it. I encourage my colleagues to support this substitute for Senate Bill 965. We should not let union politics derail consensus legislation that would help keep our kids safely employed in Michigan. Thank you, Mr. President.